Michigan State football has a new crop of visitors appearing on campus this weekend, so let's get to know them. And plus, guys, Michigan State hockey is a wagon, especially with their latest addition.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week here right on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below how you're feeling about this crop of visitors coming to campus for Michigan State football. And, well, God, if you're a Michigan State hockey fan, go ahead and throw down whatever emoji labels your excitement for Cayden Lindstrom being added to next year's team. We're going to get to all that later, plus a few mailbag questions about, hey, who can Michigan State upset or who will they be upset by in the fall? But right now, hey guys, it's June. That means it's recruiting season. So let's get into it because there is a handful of visitors appearing for Michigan State this weekend. And it all starts with 3-star edge/linebacker Charles Besler out of Philly. Now he's also got Virginia Tech, University of Central Florida in the mix. And this would be a pretty solid 1-2 step for the linebacker position since they just got Braylon Hodge, the kid out of Colorado who committed last weekend, the very speedy linebacker from that side of the country. So can they go back-to-back weekends with it? There's rumors circulating that Charles Besler could be on the doorstep of a commitment. So if you're on commit watch for this weekend, could very well be Charles Besler, which, like I said, guys, edge/linebacker, a versatile kid. Okay, just like Braylon Hodge, he offers a good amount of speed to his position. So keep your eye out for Charles Besler. Now, to keep on going down the list here, we got a few more defensive players. Nehemiah Kolone from Stillwater, Oklahoma. And of course, that is in Oklahoma State's backyard. He did visit the Cowboys last weekend, and he also has Kansas and BYU trips set up after he visits Michigan State. He's 6'4", 255 pounds, and with the frame like that, he could play inside in the line. He could play in the outside, that traditional defensive end role. So another versatile kid right now in the high school ranks, could very well be that same player in the college ranks too. Now, it's not just between Michigan State and Oklahoma State for Mr. Kolone services. Wisconsin, they also got a visit. West Virginia will get a visit. Indiana's going to be coming up in the near future. So definitely a lot of suitors for Mr. Kolone here. Not the only defensive lineman, though, right now, because we also got out of Frisco, Texas, Christopher Knowles. 6'4", 260 pounds. Very similar build to the kid we just talked about. But Knowles was down at Boise last week. He's going to visit Houston and Kansas afterward. And let's just say they get Kolone or Knowles commitment here. What would that mean for the class? And I mean, obviously, they'd be the first defensive line commits for this crop here of 2026 kids. But what you like to do is, hey, how are they stacked with the previous class? And when your diamond of the class is Derek Simmons, a guy that's on the defensive line, the more talent you can stack into this class to kind of pair them up one day at Michigan State, the better. So similar to Kolone, I mean, we got a guy that can play defensive end, can play defensive line, 6'4", 260 for both of these kids. So we'll see what the plan would be for Michigan State should either commit. But right now, those are the two versatile defensive linemen coming to campus. Now, we're going to switch really quick to the offensive side of the ball for 3-star wide receiver Zachary Washington. 6'2", 185 pounds from Wheaton, Illinois, and he plays for a team called the Spartans. So hopefully it would only just, make it easier on his life to commit to Michigan State. If he did commit to Michigan State, guys, he's already got built-in chemistry with a pretty important position here on this team because he is Alessio Milivojevic, the backup quarterback on this year's team, going into his sophomore season. Hey, they were teammates down at St. Francis in Wheaton, Illinois, so it would be a very familiar face for Alessio, also for the young gentleman, Zachary Washington. And there's also some other suitors out there, guys, like Indiana's in the mix. I believe Wisconsin is also on the trail, too, for Zachary Washington. But he's a speedy kid. I mean, 6'2", 185 pounds, like I already said. But when you watch his film, he's just blazing by other kids. So, I mean, certainly has a fast streak to him. Now, we got two defensive secondary players from the great state of Georgia, which, when has Michigan State ever gotten a good secondary player from the state of Georgia? Come on now. So we got cornerback TJ Umenyiora and then cornerback Tyson Samford. They both live about 30 minutes away from one another. So could have, built-in knowledge of one another there. Maybe they commit as a package. Who's to say? But 2 cornerback recruits on campus too. And then we're going to end it here, guys. Still down south. Still a defensive secondary player. We have Elijah Caldwell-Hardy. Now, similar to George Mullins last year, the cornerback that Michigan State picked up from Bushnell, Florida, he plays at like the lowest level of Florida. And what I mean by that is not like every team sucks. I'm talking about like enrollment. He plays 1A football down in Florida. So those are, the smallest class sizes down there. So like George Mullins, whose tape, by the way, I really liked last year. Whenever we were asked about diamonds in the rough, I always said Braylon Collier, the receiver from Sandusky, but also George Mullins. I did like his tape a lot too. But maybe he just flew a little too under the radar because, he doesn't really play at a big school, not really in a recruiting hotbed. Could that be the case for Elijah Caldwell-Hardy, who, by the way, like not a lot of other Power 4 interest, if any. I know Michigan State, he's clearly visiting this weekend, but after that, FAU, Florida Atlantic, is the only other school visited for or scheduled for a visit, I should say. So that's your rundown right there. That is, if I'm doing my math correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's right, I can count to 7. 7 kids visiting this weekend. Now, we're just going to do a few more recruiting notes here. And look, it's my job to tell you who's coming in, right? And like, obviously these kids are all talented in their own right. There's no way to like say this without sounding like I don't know, just like a hater, I suppose, or someone that's salty. But like, let's just call it what it is right now. Charles Besler is your highest rated kid right now visiting this weekend. And he's ranked per the 24/7 Sports Composite number 797. Again, that is your best kid visiting this weekend. And it's not to say it's been like that the entire month so far for Michigan State. They just had 2 4-stars on campus last weekend. But it's also what we've been saying leading up to this June visit is that there's not a ton of star power here. And look, I fully understand. You got to trust the staff. Hey, the staff loves the board. They love their evaluations. But guys, we could also be honest with ourselves. Every staff likes their evaluations. So look, I'm just telling you the news here. Besler, he's the highest rated kid, 797. Take that for what it is. And hey, you know what? Let's get those diamonds in the rough on campus, shall we? Just 2 other recruiting notes here. And this is when I'll just start to be more like transparent and just speak from the chest here. Recruiting note number 1, MSU stuffed in a locker by Rutgers yet again. That's right, Rutgers, the school in Piscataway there. So after Michigan State struck out on Corey Amakri, the kid just right in their backyard from Hazlitt because he went to Kansas. That's right. Michigan State, they said, all right, great. We got this kid named Michael Dukes, who plays at Detroit King. That's great. Another in-state kid that surely we're not going to whiff on this time. He's committed to Toledo right now. And, sure, yeah, he's going to visit Rutgers right before he visits us this upcoming weekend. And, guys, you know where I'm going with this. The kid canceled his visit for this upcoming weekend because over last weekend, he commits to Rutgers. So, bang-up job in the running back recruiting department yet again. I'm sorry. Like, I get it. We got Jace Clarizio last year, flipped him from Bama. That was a good win. You can always get transfers that play running back. I get it. But, like, my God, can, like, something good happen on the recruiting trail for once? And maybe this next note is the spin zone into something good that actually happened. And it's going to start weird because I'm about to talk about Jack Janda, kid from, just like the last guy we talked about, Michael Dukes. Jack Janda is from Michigan, plays at Catholic Central. Now, he was going to visit campus later this month. A tight end. When we already have 2 tight ends in the class, Joey Cottle and Eddie Whiting. Eddie Whiting being your 4-star tight end with a lot of great interest from some big-name schools. Eddie Whiting visits last weekend. Kind of, reaffirms his commitment, saying that, yes, I am with Michigan State. No one even contacted me. Like, I am all green and white. And then Jack Janda, he commits to Wisconsin. Now, the reason I'm not pulling the fire alarm, the reason I'm not saying, like, oh, my God, how could you blow this one, too? Especially a week after Greg Smith of Rivals joined the show and said he expects Jack Janda to be at Michigan State. I think this is what happened. And, again, this is no inside info. I'm just trying to connect dots here. Is that after Eddie Whiting doubles down on his commitment, they already have Joey Cottle too, pretty clear that Michigan State has 2 tight ends in their class. I wonder if it's a situation where Jack Janda not only likes Wisconsin, I'm sure it was a great visit over there, but also sees the writing on the wall that, okay, they got their 2 tight ends already. Like, let's just go to the school that actually, has room for a tight end. Again, I'm just shooting at the hip here, but I think that's a very plausible reasoning as to why that happens. So, on one hand, yeah, Michael Dukes, running back, commits to Rutgers. That's a bummer to see. And then Jack Janda, he goes to Wisconsin. Obviously a very talented player, but tight end isn't an issue right now for the 2026 class. All right, guys, a little bit of hockey talk coming up next, and then a mailbag question. But first, I need to talk everyone's ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's right, guys. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout play, there's never been a better time to get in on the action than with FanDuel. And guys, FanDuel makes it so easy to stay in the game, both before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Like, guys, right before I actually hopped on and recorded, place a no-sweat same-game parlay on tonight's Thunder-Pacers game. I'm really just all in on Thunder props like Chet Holmgren, 15 points, Jalen Williams, 25 points. We also got Lou Dort cashing in 3 3-pointers. Hartenstein, you know what? Fine, 6 rebounds. Let's throw that on there. Why not? $10 to win about 80-ish. Something to wet the whistle for tonight. And there's no better place to wet the whistle than with FanDuel, especially if you are a new customer, because if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up, because when you head over to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If you win, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, guys, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now let's get back to it here, and we're going to actually get a little chilly. We're going to head over to Munn Ice Arena because, hey, guys, if you thought it was fun enough that Trey Augustine's coming back, if you thought it was cool enough that Hobie Baker Award winner Isaac Howard's coming back, how about just, throwing a guy by the name of Cayden Lindstrom into the mix? Now, first and foremost, this will pop off the page. 4th overall pick in the NHL. That's right, the National Hockey League, by the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Michigan State just pocketing themselves a nice top 5 draft pick on next year's roster. So Cayden Lindstrom, he played for the Medicine Hat Tigers of the WHL up in Canada for the last few years. Now, he did miss most of last season recovering from back surgery, back injuries. So he played very sparingly last year. But before then, 2 years ago, he was a finalist for WHL Rookie of the Year. Okay, the season after that, 46 points in 32 games before injuries knocked him out of that season in 2023-24. So, yes, obviously he's carrying a little bit of baggage with him, being, injury prone, one could say. But on the other hand, young kid, that's who recovers from injuries best. And, well, Columbus thought it was a good enough idea to to spend a top 5 draft pick on him. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that, hey, if an NHL team has the confidence to be doing that, I don't see why we should be sweating too much about what's happening here. This is just a fantastic addition here. Really solid goal scorer. He plays forward, a little bit of center, I read as well. And again, guys, Medicine Hat is where he's from. And we're going to parlay that into a little conversation here, because Medicine Hat, as talented as Cayden Lindstrom is, not the star of that show, because there's a guy by the name of Gavin McKenna. And he kind of shocked the hockey world by saying that he's going to be going to the NCAA here. And you know where I'm going with this? Michigan State is up for grabs in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. Now, also, Michigan's going to be involved. Penn State is involved. There's actually recent rumors that Boston University is going to be involved here. And he should be able to pick whatever college he wants to go to, because, guys, it's looking like he's going to be the consensus number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NHL draft. This kid is incredibly accomplished. He had a 54-game point streak at one point. Last season for Medicine Hat, 129 points in 56 games. Goodness gracious. So, look, when the decision is going to come for Gavin McKenna, could be in the next few days, could be in the upcoming weeks. We don't know, but what we do know is that Michigan State is a little bit in the mix here. I know John Butchiegrass made it seem like it was a lock for him to come to Michigan State, but everything I've read and the few people I've talked to said that was a little bit of a jumping the gun. He's going to take a little bit of time here, weigh all of his options. So that is your Gavin McKenna update. But my goodness gracious, what an offseason for Michigan State hockey. I know it didn't end great, but everything that's happened since Cornell knocked them out, hey, not too shabby. So welcome, Cayden Lindstrom. All right, guys, we're going to get to one mailbag question here to end this. And this comes from Thomas over at lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Now, this is a 2-pack question here, because the first question was, which Spartan game do you think the Spartans will be favored in that will have their best chance of being upset? And then the contrary for the second one. In which Spartan game do you think they will be underdogs in and having the best chance of pulling off the upset? So, guys, There's not a lot of spreads out right now. We do know is that Michigan State, they're going to be 17.5-point favorites according to FanDuel right now. So for all these other spreads, we're going to go to ESPN, Bill Connolly, his S&P Plus metrics, like one of the best to use in college football. And what this is predicated on is three things. Returning production, that's about 2/3 of his formula. Recent recruiting, and then recent history. He uses a sliver of that too. Now, this is all tempo and opponent-adjusted measurements. So you know what? Like beating Alabama by 30 weighs a lot differently than beating, UTEP by 30, for example. So it takes out all of the tempo, all the opponents, and boils it down into one smooth formula. And when you look at these numbers, you can also add about like 3 or 4-ish points for it being a home game. That's roughly the formula. By the way, in the S&P Plus numbers, Michigan State is 64th in the nation. Not ideal. 107 in offense, but 32 in defense and special teams. So again, guys, 64th overall in the country. That's one spot behind UTSA, but we're not here to talk about that. So let's just go down the full slate of games here and talk about the spreads before I give my answers here. So Western Michigan, 17.5-point favorites. Boston College, about 3.5-point favorites. Youngstown, about 1 billion-point favorites. Now we're going to start to hear a lot of underdog lines. Like when you go to USC, roughly 12.5 points. Nebraska, roughly 12.5 points. UCLA, probably a pick 'em, if not a 1-point favorite game. On the road to Indiana, 13.5-point underdogs. At home against Michigan, 17.5-point underdogs. On the road at Minnesota, 8.5-point underdogs. Penn State at home, 24.5-point underdogs. You hit the road to Iowa, 13-point underdogs. And then Maryland, you should be 2.5-point favorites. Now, I will say, and this is obvious, these lines are subject to change. Like the season hasn't even started. There's a lot that's going to stay here. So don't come, crying to me in November when you're getting, Iowa at a pick'em and I said that they were 13-point underdogs. Like there's a lot that could change. I remember last year in the offseason, Michigan was favored by like 26 points against Michigan State. Obviously, Michigan State didn't end up winning the game. But the point is, when that game kicked off, it was like a 5-point spread. So things can change as the season goes along. Anyway, let's finally get around to answering Thomas's question here, because games that Michigan State will be favored in that could see them being upset. So on the menu is Western Michigan by 17, Boston College by 3.5, Youngstown by 1 billion, UCLA probably favored a little bit, and then Maryland favored by about a field goal, I would imagine. What I'm going to go with here isn't the pick'em game. It's not the UCLA game. I'm actually going to go with Boston College here, the second game of the season, just because, as much as we don't know about Boston College, we also don't know the same about Michigan State. And what we do know about Boston College is that there's a relatively new quarterback coming into the system. It's either going to be the fresh guy they got from Alabama or the guy that they broke in the last 4 or 5 games of the season last year. But could the new quarterback be friendlier to the Bill O'Brien system? Perhaps. But guys, as Michigan State fans, we don't know a lot of answers to the questions on defense. Will the secondary work? Will there finally be a pass rush? How's the new core of linebackers going to look? We just don't know. So, just because there's so much mystery around this game, I'm going to go ahead and select that one. Because, yes, Boston College did lose a good crop of players, but, hey, Michigan State's going to actually try to put together a defense that could rush the passer this year, and we won't know if that's the answer, especially, hey, guys, this early in the season, too. The new pieces of the offensive line still perhaps building chemistry. Same with the new receivers. It is the early game in the season, so that's why I'm going to put Michigan State possibly an upset alert for that game. I do want to be crystal clear. I think Michigan State does win that one. But, yeah, of the other games, Western Michigan, I think they win that one. Youngstown, call me crazy, I think they win that one. UCLA, I feel fine about, oddly, right now. And Maryland, at the end of the year, when the Terrapins have stopped playing and you're playing in front of a sold-out Ford Field, I don't feel too nervous about that one just yet. Now, which Spartan game do I think they will be underdogs in and have the best chance of pulling off the upset? A lot of these are big spreads right now, guys, like USC, Nebraska, Indiana, Michigan. Those are all double-digit spreads. Minnesota, about 8-point spreads. Penn State, you're going to be underdogs by 1 billion. And then the Iowa game. But I'm not going to go to the Minnesota game. Minnesota actually returns a lot from their defense last year, and that's going to be on the road. I'm going to stay away from that one. The Iowa game, same thing. Look, they don't return a ton from their defense, but they return a lot on their offense. It's on the road. So I'm going to go with, right now on paper, a 17-point spread for most likely to pull off the upset. I'm going to go with the Michigan game, guys. I'm going to go with the Michigan game because, look, let me be clear again right now. If I was in a weird situation where someone pulls me in an alley and holds a gun to my head and says, hey, who are you picking this game? You must be right. I'm sorry. I would pick Michigan right now, but 17 seems like a steep number. I think that there's going to be certainly a world where Michigan State wins because, well, forget Michigan State's question marks. Excuse me for, peering down the road here, but what if their freshman quarterback, plays like a freshman quarterback, as talented as he is, as raw of an athlete as he is? What if he doesn't put it all together immediately in year one? Did they do enough to address the wideout situation last year where they had almost no one to throw to? And I don't think it's nothing that they lost 4 guys on the defensive side of the ball within the first 3 rounds of the draft. They had 4 guys go in the first 3 rounds just on defense, and what they did, turn it into a 7-5 season. There is a world where Michigan just isn't that much improved from last year. I'm sorry, this is just me being a hater right now, but even if I did take my green tinted glasses off, I think that's just objectively speaking about their situation over there. So, look, they obviously have a lot of talent. They recruit at a higher level than Michigan State. They should have no problem reloading in some sense. But man, 4 draft picks in the first 3 rounds on one side of the ball, that's missing a lot. That is missing a lot. And oh, by the way, cherry on top, the game is at home. So yeah, I of all the games that I just listed, that's probably the one I'm oddly feeling the best about. Even better than Minnesota, even better than Iowa. I mean, Indiana's, yeah, it's still going to be good, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's where I'm at, guys. Hey, thanks a lot for listening. Ever have any questions? LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com is where to find us. Now, go take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your week. And just for a programming note here, guys, we are in a little bit of an off season right now for the next few weeks. So it's going to be at least 3 episodes every week, or it could be like this week where we pop out a 4th one, maybe even a 5th one. So thanks for kind of somewhat staying on your toes. But yeah, guys, I mean, hey, if there's big news, we will do an episode as soon as we can about it. But until then, guys, hey, you know where to find all things Michigan State content right here, Locked on Spartans, your team in green and white. Take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go.